And we'll get
We are
started.
now recording.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Marilyn Wills, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Tyler, Smith County. And with me today, we have Maggie Ruelle. She's on the board of directors of the league. And we have Tammy Burnette. And Tammy is our vice president of voter services. So we're here doing a continuing series called Coffee with Elected Officials. And today we're really pleased to welcome James Wynne. He's City Council District 4 for Tyler. So welcome, Councilman Wynne. We really appreciate you being here today.
And thank you. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I would bet 99.9% of that is operator error.
Well, as long as you're here, that's all we care about. So I don't know how much you are aware of the League of Women Voters, but you might know that we're a nonpartisan organization. And one of the biggest things that we like to do is engage voters. And we like to engage them by registering voters, educating them about issues, and letting them know who their elected officials are and what those elected officials do, and also helping them understand how they can have a voice in their own government. So that's the premise for our conversations with elected officials. And so we welcome the opportunity to visit with you about your job and about your district and about the city of Tyler. And then we have some very specific questions that we'll ask you in a little bit. But I want to start out by asking you, we know, and a lot of people might not know, that your elected position is unpaid. So you have a real challenge, don't you? Living a life and also doing a separate job that you don't get paid for, an important separate job. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you interact with your community and with the mayor and the city council and the county commissioners? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up and I'll just give you a little history real quick that kind of tells more about me and how and why I'm here. My father instilled on me at a young age to volunteer and get involved. And so when I moved back to Tyler in 1991, he suggested that I attend some chamber events and some nonprofit organizations and find a niche and find an area to get involved. And he basically instilled in me, if you're going to live in a community, be involved in the community, both in the government and in the nonprofit sector, so you can learn more about Tyler. He said, you may think you know Tyler, but you don't until you go work in it, in the non-paid segment. And so that instilled in me volunteerism. And through the years, I have served on different city committees, city boards, and nonprofits. But as you said, it's a non-paid position. And as I was raising a family and working and doing all the activities that associated with kids, I didn't have time to take on a volunteer job that we jokingly say it's like the Boy Scouts, only 1 hour a week. That is it. I did not realize, and I talked to a bunch of men and women that have served on city council before I decided to embark on this journey in my life. How much time does it take? And they all answered, it can take as much time as you would like for it to take. The more time it takes, the better job you're doing. If you're only doing a little bit a week, then you're not serving your constituency and serving the citizens in Tyler. So fortunately, I'm at a stage in my life. My wife and I are empty nesters, and I have some very good people that work for me and I work with that allow me to spend the time that's needed to be a city councilman and represent the citizens of District 4, but more importantly, the citizens of Tyler. Yeah. And doing that, prior to running for city council, Don Warren, our current mayor, who is a good friend of mine and a neighbor, I spent a lot of time talking to Don. Bob Westbrook, who is a friend of mine I go to church with. He and I talked about city council. Linda Sellers, I spoke with Linda Sellers, Broderick McGee, who I've worked with on some nonprofit. He and I spoke some, and then Shirley McCullers, who I've gotten to know very well. I reached out to her and spoke to her. So I reached out to a lot of different people that are on the city level. As far as the county level, Jeff War is a longtime friend of mine, and I sought his advice on, how does the city and the county work together. Judge Moran is someone that I've gotten to know, and I did the same thing with him. So I tried to educate myself in advance of pitching my hat in the ring, so to say, to become a city council person, because I wanted to make sure that, one, I understood the job, and two, that I thought I could do a good job. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, I think, to your question.
Well,
So
that makes good sense. How do you correspond or interact with your constituents?
I would say I'm very open. I attend any and every event I can that is in District 4. My phone number is out there for anybody that wants to call me, contact me, show up at my front door and ask questions. This past week, as I was working on my yard and just sitting there looking at my azaleas, shaking my head, going, oh, these, I don't know how I'll ever replace them. I probably had 3 different constituents in the area come up to my house and said, hey, can we talk about this, this, and this? I go to Bergfield Park and I walk my neighborhoods. So when I'm out, people that know me will stop and ask me. And then people that don't know me, well, hey, I see you have a shirt that has your name on it. You're my city councilman. Can I ask you about XYZ? So that's kind of how I try to let the constituents in my district know. Do I do a good job? I don't know whether everybody's able to find me or not. I know that the people that respond to the city app for specific questions relating to our district, I do respond to them. So I try my best to reach out to anybody that has a question about District 4 and or questions in general about the city, and they may not be live in District 4, they may live in District 1, 2, 3, any of them. I will try to help them or steer them in the direction that they need to go.
So tell us how people understand where their district is. If I'm living somewhere, how do I know who's my representative? Because I don't know what my district is comprised of.
One of the easiest ways to figure out your district, and I will tell you, the city council districts in Tyler are very confusing. My district, for one, you think it's the Azalea district. It actually reaches out over past UT Tyler into Charleston Park. That's quite a geographic change. The city has a great app that you can go in, put your address in, and it will pull up who your councilman is. It will pull up your trash days, recycling days. So the city has done a really good job of, use your address to find out information.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, well, we have some specific questions, and I think Maggie's going to start.
I am, yes. So thank you again so much, Councilman Wynne, for joining us today. And my first question is about housing. And the question is, affordable housing and governmental funding for housing has historically been a problem in Smith County and contributes to homelessness. This problem, of course, has been exacerbated by COVID. So what would you do differently, if anything, to address the shortage of affordable housing in Tyler?
Well, we just passed this last city council meeting, a project that is for affordable housing. I believe there's a total of 11 units that are specifically part of a HUD grant for providing affordable housing. The city does its best job it can in trying to get grants through our neighborhood services program to help people, to help the citizens find affordable housing, help them pay rent or utilities. I know that we work with PATH and their program of building homes and working with the nonprofits to help them in any way. the city of Tyler has done a good job, I think. Some may not say a great job of helping those looking for affordable housing, but the city has really, and the citizens of Tyler have left that to the nonprofit and the churches, and the city's just a resource for an avenue to say, here is affordable housing, here is an area you can go, here is who you can contact. But the city has not really gotten full board into until recently this recent grant to build the 11 affordable housing. We do have in our master plan the number of housing units we'd like to see in certain segments of the city that, if you through zip code, will show that they're underserviced for certain price homes. Right now, what Tyler is seeing is the same thing that is seen across the state. The price of housing has gone through the roof. One, through construction cost. I've talked to many different people who had construction plans in place to build duplex rental units or lesser price homes that have tabled them. When you see material, increase 50, 60%, your numbers don't work. So that's another real problem right now that we're facing and everybody's facing, is the cost of materials on building anything. Just go to Home Depot and price something and you'll see, oh, wait, it costs that much. It's going to be a while before those prices come back down. And then, and once prices come back, then yes, maybe we'll see more rooftops that are in that affordable price range, but that's a deterrent right now.
Thank you so much.
My question is related to healthcare. Tyler is known for having some of the most outstanding healthcare facilities and resources in Texas. Due to the economic impact of COVID, what challenges do you see people are having gaining access to healthcare in Smith County?
Well, the biggest problem during COVID was just pure access. The hospitals, you didn't go to them. It was taboo, basically, to go to a hospital, and getting admitted to a hospital was difficult. With COVID still present, but the hospital rates of positives, the hospitals are opening back up. So the ability to get into hospitals has become easier, I guess. I don't think it's ever easy to go to hospital because nobody wants to go to the hospital. Affordable, the market is what drives the cost of the hospital and the cost of going. I think we have great medical facilities here. I think Bethesda is a great resource for those that are looking and may not have insurance. Bethesda is an avenue to go. I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer affordable health care, because I'm faced with it myself as a self-employed individual. My health care has gone up tremendously, and I have to try to find a way to get affordable health care for my family. Same with my workforce. So healthcare it's just an expensive proposition that we all have to work with. And I wish I knew the magic answer. I do know that through COVID, and one of the jobs that I have that pays me is I manage property, and I have several nurses who have I would say a side job that they're trying to do that are COVID nurses, and they've explained to me that they face the same problem. Even working in the hospital, their own health care is expensive. And it's hard for them to get the services they need. So it's a universal problem. I don't think it's a local problem in Tyler. I think it's a universal problem. And I don't know if we'll ever find the answer to availability of healthcare for all those that need it. It is out there in Tyler through Bethesda. If you do not have insurance, and our hospitals will work with you if you do have to go and you do not have insurance. I know of several people that have gone and they just put them on payment programs. I mean, that's not a great thing to have, but it's an avenue that you may have to go. So I don't think that was a great answer because I don't know that answer.
I think it's a perfect answer. Healthcare is very complicated, as you said, nationally and in Smith County. So thank you very much.
I just know that I cringe every year when I have to start looking at my employee plans, and I feel so bad when I have to go tell them, look, I can only pick up X amount, and this is what it is this year, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay. Maggie?
Sure. All right. So actually returning to some of what you were discussing with that first question, as new development does occur, would you consider use fees on developers to cover increased service costs, for example, to fire, police, parks, library, that sort of thing?
Use fees can be a slippery slope. Where do you start? Where do you stop? The permitting process and the permitting fees that a developer pays, goes to cover the cost of plan review. It goes to cover the cost of inspections. It goes to cover the cost of staff work to monitor, to look and make sure that the development is being built the way that it should be. The developer does bear the cost of the utilities. He bears the cost of, getting the electric to the lots, the sewer to the lots, the water to the lots, the gas. So the developer does have a lot of the upfront fees that he pays to get to the building process. How you would go, I still am trying to think as I'm talking, how you would design a user fee that would help relieve the cost for the next user, the next homeowner. I'd have to really think about how you would do that, especially if it was a multifamily. How do you spread the cost? I mean, I know from the development side how you'd spread the cost, but how you would charge a user fee. Do you charge it based on consumption? Do you charge it based on square footage that the builder would basically set aside to help the individual that may be renting or buying that? I would really have to have a lot more information to figure out the best way to, if you went a user fee route, not saying that's the route to go, but if you did, how would you do it equitably where, the cost of it does not become so cumbersome that the developer then raises his prices to cover that user fee cost. I mean, it's a trade-off. If you charge him that, then he may say, okay, well, I'm just going to charge more for the end product. There's got to be a way that you would design such a user fee that helps offset that cost.
Thank you so much, and appreciate the very thoughtful response there.
So my question is related to the quality of life for Smith County residents. Looking forward to 2021 and beyond, what do you believe are the greatest challenges with respect to ensuring a good quality of life for all residents in your district specifically?
Quality of life in 2021 would be that we're all healthy and safe and we can get together. We don't have to wear a mask, and we don't have to be fearful of coming up and giving somebody a hug or a handshake. I would love to see that in 2021. As far as quality of life, specifically for District 4, we need to continue forward on working on the infrastructure, which we have, and we are continuing. And we've just passed this past city council meeting, I think a little over $1 million in infrastructure work that's spread across the city. But a lot of that's taking place in District 4, which is one of the older districts in the city of Tyler. That is, be honestly, our pipes are not good and they need to be replaced. We need to be able to provide clean water to all of our residents. We need the sewer to flow properly. We need to make sure our water plant is up to date, state of the art, which we have spent a fortune on the Golden Road plant, and it is providing us clean water. We need to identify what's called dead end pipes. That back when Tyler was being built, you'd have a water line, you'd have a sewer line running, and then it stops. And it wasn't ever picked back up. And you run another line that may be 6 feet away from it, running parallel, that's servicing a neighborhood. So we didn't do a good job years and years ago of mapping our pipes. We're coming back and mapping them. We're correcting the dead end pipes that create the brown water that you'd be surprised the number of phone calls, the number of people that have shown up and said, this is what came out of my tap, James. How do we get rid of this dirty water? So infrastructure is a key for quality of life now and into the future. And two, another thing, we need to continue to upgrade. We need to continue and maintain our parks and our green space. That has been a savior during COVID for people to have the wonderful park system the city of Tyler has to go out and be in the open environment where, you know, you can stretch your legs, you can get out, you can be around people socially distanced and feel good about yourself. Burkeville Park is a prime example. I grew up at Burkeville Park. I raised 3 kids at Burkeville Park. I wore out slides and swings there. And, you know, the upgrades we've made there and the upgrades that we're continuing to make at Burkeville Park or at Hillside Park or at Southside Park, our park system all across, the city is doing yeoman's work to keep those up because that is a quality of life. Another quality of life issue that to me is not a north, south, east, or west is the Rose City complex. You know, I would be so proud in the very near future when the Rose City complex opens and one of our largest tourist attractions, the Rose Garden and the Rose Museum and the new beautiful new Harvey Hall Convention Center in partnership with TISD. And we just have a wonderful campus that is the city, TISD, and everything. I mean, what a great quality of life proposition that will be, where our visitors can come and go to great tourist attractions, go watch a football game, baseball, softball game, all in one campus that is, you know, a joint Tyler and TISD. That's just some examples of quality of life that I see, and I see in our near future.
I think all of those are really good answers. And tell us a little bit about the time frame on the campus that you're talking about at the Rose Garden.
Well, because of COVID and because Harvey Hall has been designated as a vaccination site, it's kind of made the city pump the brakes because Net Health has taken over Harvey Hall. Mm-hmm. No activities have been at Harvey Hall since March of last year. And then when it was designated, as I mentioned, a vaccination site, it basically, we are at not Net Health's mercy, but kind of the government's mercy on how we move forward. You know, we're looking at in April potentially taking requests for proposals on the structure moving forward, but we don't know when the city could start even construction of tearing down the building since it is still a COVID vaccination site. We would have to, and we've talked to Net Health about what they think moving forward. Is there another facility that the city has that they could use? Net Health likes the large parking lot, and I don't know if everybody has had vaccinations or have seen how they do the drive-through vaccinations. They like the big open space. And then inclement weather, it allows them, because of the size of the building, to take people through safely to get vaccinations. So the timeline has changed. We thought we'd be a little further along, but like I said, we pumped the brakes when the city, Net Health said, hey, we need the facility to vaccinate the citizens of our community. And the city was more than happy to say, please use it. That's a benefit right now.
Right, that's the priority. Okay, Tammy?
I think Maggie's got this one.
Oh,
yes, I have this next one here. All right, so we're going to move over into voting and elections. So we did have a very high turnout for the 2020 election here in Smith County, as we saw in most places. We know it was a big election, but also, as you know, local elections are so critical to our daily lives, and yet we regularly suffer from, very low turnout rates. So the question here is, what can you do or what do you think the community can do to emphasize the importance of voting in local elections?
Well, I can tell you, y'all's organization does a great job of getting the word out. Y'all's organization has always been very helpful in the community. How you get somebody out to vote, I don't know. I called, I knocked on doors. I had people helping me and my campaign do the same thing. Municipal elections aren't sexy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many people, could honestly say who their city council person is. I have preached to people to get involved, learn more about your city government, learn more about your elected officials. But I don't know the secret sauce on how to getting people out to vote for municipal elections. I do know that this past election, yes, it had some of the highest turnout ever. I had people that contacted me, James, I couldn't find your name on the ballot. I was going to vote for you. Well, I'm sorry. You're not in my district. Oh, well, I couldn't even find my local elections because the ballot was so full and so long that I got voter fatigue and quit. And so they said, why are you on the November ballot? And I said, well, there's this thing called COVID that moved it from May, and then we thought July, and then we thought September, and then November. I said it took it out of our hands, but they said, are we going back to May? And I said, yes, municipal elections are going to go back in May, where it's TISD and your local elections. It's easier to find you on the ballot.
Yep.
And they said, thank you. Now, you talk to other people, they think that your municipal election should be on election day. That's a learning experience for citizens in Tyler because they're not used to it. And again, like I said, I had people say, I never could find you on the ballot. It was too long. There was too much information. Please don't ever do that again. But as far as getting them in, you just have to knock on doors. You have to ask people to get involved. You have to have a good support group working on your campaign, and groups like the League of Women Voters in the background working to educate the voters on how important it is to get out and vote, get out and know what you're voting for. That's another thing. Don't go vote if you don't know what you're voting for, because, that can do more damage than good.
Right.
So, and kind of a follow-up to that, one of the things that people often say is that they don't feel like their vote counts. We hear that over and over when we are out in the community. So could you share with us how you would respond to a voter who maybe tells you, well, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't count. My vote doesn't count anyway. And what are you doing in your district to make sure everyone has equal access to voting?
Well, everybody's vote does count. A very tight election, you have a few people that don't go vote. That's the difference between someone getting elected and not elected. As far as what I did and what I will do the next time I have to run, I'll just make sure everybody knows how easy it is to go vote. Now, this year was a little bit different because we had to, we couldn't get near anybody. We had to wear a mask. And so this was a learning experience. This was an election that people have never participated in before. Extended early voting, extended voting hours. But what we did is we let everybody know you can go vote anywhere. Any polling place, you can go vote. You don't have to go vote to the ones in your district anymore. Go to the closest spot. We use social media to let everybody know where the different places you can go vote. We let people know early voting. We just tried to educate all voters, not just people in District 4, but in general. Tyler has a wealth of places to go vote. They're safe to go vote. And we stress, best time to go vote the middle of the day. Don't go at 8 o'clock in the morning. Don't go at 5 in the afternoon. Go when it's not busy. But there's a lot of different places you can go vote, and just know that they're open to everybody. So that's kind of how we address that. But, back to your original point, you just have to encourage people. Hey, there are countries in the world where you don't have this ability to go voice your vote, and take advantage of it. It's a privilege and an honor.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
That's our mantra.
Mhm.
Well, speaking of privilege and honor, I get the last question of today to you. So this is specific to criminal justice. How will you and the City Council support police officers as they face the most challenging law enforcement environment in our lifetime in terms of maintaining and building trusting relationships with the community and with race relations?
Tammy, when I ran, the one thing that I told people that I would do, I said I would never, never, ever cut the budget for fire and safety, police and our fire department, our first responders. They are the most important people in our community, and they should be some of the most respected individuals in our community. And I met with a bunch of different policemen during the campaign and the firemen. And I said, guys, here's my phone number. This is my personal cell phone number. If you ever have a problem, please call me. My door is open at any time to talk to y'all. I have a great relationship with the beat officers that work the different neighborhoods. I have a great relationship with Chief Toller. I have a great relationship with Chief Coble. And I've encouraged them to let people see them out in the community. I think that overall, the citizens of Tyler respect our policemen and policewomen and our firemen and hopefully our firewomen, because Chief Coble has really pushed. He would like to see a firewoman in Tyler, I guess firewoman, how you would describe her. And I think that that's on the horizon. I really think some of the race relation problems that may have cropped up in Tyler, they weren't from Tylerites. They weren't from the people that are our neighbors and live in our community. Our North Tyler churches, our Black churches, have done a tremendous job of telling these people, these agitators, we don't want you in the city of Tyler. We have a good relationship with our elected officials. We have a great relationship with our police and fire department. We don't need y'all stirring up our pot. And I've talked to Reverend Caraway about this. And he said, James, it's people that I don't see on a regular basis that are coming to Tyler that are trying to stir us up. So we don't want them here. I really think we have a really a blessed community in that we all are able to get along and we don't have race relation problems. I've gotten to be good friends with Stanley Kofer, who's with the Texas Minority Coalition. And I've gone to some of his events and seen people of all races and color get along and sit and hold hands and pray. And the police and fire are right there with us. So it's really opened my eyes how diverse our community is and how well I think we really get along. And I'll go back to what I said earlier is I will never cut the police budget. I will never cut the fire budget. We can't, that's the people that are there for us to protect us. And we all need to respect them. They have a thankless job. I could never do that job. A policeman, a firefighter, and a teacher are three jobs I could never do. And those people are the most underpaid and the most they don't receive the accolades that they need and they should get. And all I know is every time I see a policeman, a fireman, or a teacher that I know, I don't know all the teachers, but if I know one, I thank them. I just, and it's not in Tyler. If I'm in Dallas, if I'm in Austin, wherever I am, and I see a first responder, I just stop and say, thank you for your service, because y'all have a thankless job. And only time anybody ever mentions your name is when something bad happens.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very well thought and great answer. Thank you.
So Councilman Wynne, we really appreciate you taking the time today. We know you have a busy schedule. And do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave with the group?
Well, I think that I need to get my college age son to give me another lesson on making sure my devices work to Zoom. I do it all the time, and all of a sudden, today it decided it didn't want to work. But I really appreciate y'all reaching out to me, and I apologize for my delay in getting on. I appreciate the work that y'all do, the education y'all do to the voters. I imagine this past year was a very trying year for y'all as far as your ability to get your information out, because it was different. Nobody knew how to have an election this year and how to get information out and how to be able to talk to people, because we couldn't get near anybody. And we had a mask on, which then makes it very hard to understand. And I'm someone that I like to see faces.
Yeah.
I like to read expressions, and you couldn't do it. So I'm hoping that we're moving forward as things get better, that's the next step we have. But I just, I feel blessed to live in Tyler, and I, feel blessed that enough people thought that I could do a good job and represent them. And if I don't do a good job, they'll let me know.
Yes.
And,
Okay.
and democratic process, and I hope that they use it. And remember, voting is a privilege and an honor, and every one of us that have the ability to go vote should use that.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us, and that will be the end of our discussion today.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.